Welcome to the UnderMike show with Sam. How's it going?
See, we had to have you start this week because we threw a curveball last week, and that's why we lost, apparently. So
we got cocky. We thought we could change it up and not be affected, but and I mean, we look at the week. We had some ups, we had some downs, but it just when we actually post a record like this, it was only one game under 500. It was
lost a little over a unit loss or whatever it ended up being.
5-6-1.
So 1.55 unit loss with the juice that I had. So yeah, I mean,
not terrible. I've seen people do worse.
I split.
So
I thought I would go 2-2 based on how things were kind of going, and I went 2-2 a completely different way. Texas got up like 21 or 24-0 early, giving 23, and I thought they would cover easily, and they ended up falling apart and just holding on. Their quarterback got hurt late. Yeah, so I lost that. Nebraska minus 11.5. I lost that. They had opportunities, but obviously didn't get there, and that's fine. That was a loss. I got lucky to get Wake Forest. Unlucky and then lucky, real lucky that Pitt's stupid and awful, and they slid before the first down, and Wake Forest made him pay for it. So a nice win to get after thinking I was going to have Texas. And then Bama came back. They were down early, but Bama's just the better team.
They looked good at the end there. So.
Yeah, they were pulling away. So 2-2. I don't know if you had a plethora, and I mean plethora of plays out there.
There's a lot going on in the weather world. There was some forecast changes that I was trying to take advantage of. I think those plays where I went and took the over once the line was bet down, those went 1-1. And then what was it? I can't remember my record, but
3-4-1.
3-4-1, yeah. Yeah, so that was 2-3-1 on the unders, and I had a couple rough ones there. What was the game we were watching? What was that? It was a Wisconsin game, right?
Yeah.
That started off that game. Honestly, had no business going over. I mean, it was really windy. They got maybe a touchdown more than they should have, I think, in the first half, but it was still on pace to go under. And just took off a bit at the end there and went over. And then the push that I had, that I believe was the Ball State, I believe, and that was going way under.
41.
That was going way under in the first half.
Central Michigan Ball State. Yep, landed on 41.
Yeah, that landed right on the number I had, and
could have went under. And then Detroit, Baltimore in the NFL. Lamar just stuffed it inside Detroit, and he was.
I was honestly surprised how they came out like that. With like I said, with being in London the previous week, but they came out hot, and ultimately, Detroit just looked terrible. I mean, they just had nothing, and even though Baltimore came out hot like that, I thought it was still going to go under. It could have easily stayed under. I mean, there wasn't really much.
It could have been 42-0 Baltimore,
Yeah. And that ended up on 44, and I think we had 43, if I remember correctly. So 43 and a half.
Yep. Yep. That's what I.
So it was some frustrating games.
43. Not that it would have mattered, but
yeah. Ultimately, that's going to happen from time to time. But our record's still.
There's yours. 12-1. You're up. I'm 10-7-1. I'm up. Obviously, if we're both up, the show is still up. 22-13-2 is what I have, plus 8.3 units. So nothing terrible. We'll bounce back this week, and I'll just put yours up a while. You made a release on Twitter/X. We're actually sweating a game now. You can see we'll be glancing while we're recording this and bitching about this loss. Jacksonville State, FIU under 48.5. Looked good for a while because FIU couldn't move the ball more than 5 yards, but they put in a backup quarterback and bingo, their
Boom.
offense started to take off. So
yeah, they scored 3 points in the first half, and then I looked down getting ready for this, and they had 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. So yeah, right now we're at 43 in the fourth quarter, so it's not looking great, but you never know.
we'll see. Yeah.
Some wins there. Ultimately, when we bet on this, we had 48.5. Pretty much right when it came out, 18 to 20 mile per hour winds. We got it early, posted it. The line dropped to, I think, 44.5. The total dropped, and then it did get some bounce back the last couple days. The winds ticked down a little bit, probably looking at 15 to 16 mile per hour winds.
Yeah, Jacksonville State just put it over. They got a good field on a 20-yard punt, probably because of the wind. So, yeah, Jacksonville State, 34-16. That game is we can cross that one off the board and try to get back with let's talk about Cincy, Oklahoma State, and Air Force, Colorado State. Air Force, Colorado State, I'll mention a couple things there, but yeah, let her fly.
Yeah, so we had 2 other plays that have already been posted. Air Force, Colorado State under 49.5. I think that total is now around 48, maybe. It's a system in the middle part of the country. There's going to be some wind. That area is going to be kind of the backside of the system. It's going to be probably some snow during the day, snow showers in the evening, a little bit of wind. It's going to get cold, probably falling into the 20s. So I like getting that early at a good number. And then that same system is going to be moving through Oklahoma in the Stillwater area. So the timing's kind of going to be interesting how that plays out. It's going to be pulling through, I think, right about where the game happening. There's going to be some rain. I would think it's going to get windier as the game goes along. Right now they're calling it's kind of like 13, 14 miles per hour, but depending on the timing, if that pulls through a little bit quicker, the winds are going to pick up a little sooner. But I think overall it's going to be a pretty nasty weather game. It's going to probably be in the low 40s with some wind, some rain. And so got that early at 54.5. And I think that's sitting around 53 right now.
Air Force, Colorado State. Air Force just had a game with Navy where the line was like 30 something. And I think it finished. It was a miracle that it got to what it did. It got to like 24-27 with some late scoring.
And there was some wind in that game too. That was one I was actually looking at, but the Navy games are so low. The totals are always opening so low. It was just a hard one to really attack right away, and then it dropped a bit, and I just stayed off of it. But ultimately, that one would have hit.
Yeah, they announced that the Air Force quarterback was going to be out last week, and then he played, which is very rare. Yeah. So but it didn't end up. So I mean, 49.5 feels like an awful lot after watching that game last week. But I think the factor in Colorado State's defense won't handle Air Force's running as well as Navy did. So we'll see there. I don't have any action at all in either of those 2 games. We haven't really crossed paths this year. I know last year we crossed paths a couple times, but not yet this year. So we have 2 UnderMike games to follow. If you're watching this video, obviously, if you're following on Twitter, you already got in at these numbers. That's the way to do it. You got to follow on Twitter X. I'll scroll here so everybody has the information. But yeah, that's the way to do it. I will talk about my 2 plays. Let me put them up here real quick. Actually, I'm gonna hide it, but people can see it for a second. Don't matter. I'll let the scroll go across for a little while. So first game looking at is Miami minus 18.5. It's minus 110. Last I saw that was widely available. And my thoughts here. So Miami is coming off a big win. They just beat Clemson 28-20. What most people are going to think of Miami, though, whenever they think is that god-awful loss they had this year, where all they had to do was kneel it out, and they ended up losing. I think they can put that behind them after that win over Clemson, and they're facing Virginia, who's coming in off of Virginia got a top 10 win. Now, granted, it's over kind of like I'll say a team that, to me, these ACC teams is North Carolina. They beat North Carolina at North Carolina. Very good win for UNC. I mean, for Virginia, but I think that they regress immediately. I don't think they're going to carry the momentum into this game, and I think Virginia actually is not good at all. I'm shocked that they pulled that game off. If you look at the results this year, they beat William and Mary by 14. They lost to BC by 3. They lost to NC State by 3. They lost to Maryland by 28. They lost to James Madison by 1. Got killed by Tennessee. I don't know. I feel like this is a spot where Miami is maybe used that awful loss. They've gotten over it with a huge win over Clemson. And if they're healthy, which they are right now, I feel like I think this is going to be a blowout. I really do. I could see this being a 4 or 5 touchdown type of game. Miami's got firepower. Virginia scored against North Carolina last week, but I think they're going to find the Miami defense a little bit tougher. Miami did lose to North Carolina, who Virginia beat, so I think people look at that too. So I think a lot of people are lining up to take the points. I'm going to lay the points here. Miami minus 18.5. And then the other one is – put it up this time. Okay, so Wisconsin plus 14.5 against Ohio State. Ohio State beat my guys. You can see right here. It's an awful fucking game Saturday. I wanted to shoot myself. I watched it with some diehards. The one guy said he was going to lay in the street. I said, no, I'll lay in the street in front of you. So I take the blunt of the blow and go quicker. It was just a brutal game. They were in it the whole way, like the score wise, but the offense looked like absolute shit. The play calling was terrible, and they didn't win. So Ohio State at Wisconsin, 14.5. Wisconsin has not looked great this year, and I think that's why, again, when I look at, I kind of look at what I think is going to get play from the public versus what is sharp, and I think the public is going to go on Ohio State. Oh, they just beat Penn State. They looked real good against Penn State, or they shut down Penn State. Well, Wisconsin always has an identity of what they want to do, and Penn State had an identity going into that game and just scrapped it. Wisconsin won't. Wisconsin is going to run, and that's the one thing that can beat Ohio State. I know it can. You can run the ball on Ohio State. So I think Wisconsin is going to keep this game tight. They're at home. I really like this game.
Night game, right? It's Saturday night, right?
I think is that the Here Comes Saturday Night game? It could be.
Yeah, I think so. I was looking at that one. There was some.
7:30. I like it even more. They'll be doing jump around in Wisconsin. Oh, baby, yeah. Sign me up for this one all friggin' day. I might sprinkle a little Munz line, a little bit of the Munz line. I don't know. We'll see.
Not an official play.
Not an official play. Plus 14.5, minus 110. Also saw that on FanDuel. Yeah. Night game too. They're gonna be jumping around, and Ohio State in their head probably was getting up for Penn State and Michigan. So although it's a night game, they'll actually probably be up a little bit more. If this actually, Wisconsin might have had a better shot at a day game if thinking about it. I mean, obviously the crowd's going to be electric on a Saturday night game, but then that also might go to Ohio State. But it's still a good play in my opinion, because Wisconsin is going to do what Penn State didn't, and that is continue to pound the ball no matter what goes on. So I like Wisconsin to keep within the number. Could be a real ugly game. But
could be chilly. I mean, it's not going to be anything bad or anything. But
this is Wisconsin's game, by the way. They're getting Ohio State at home. The rest of their games are at Indiana, home for Northwestern, home for Nebraska, and at Minnesota in their Oaken Bucket game, I think it is, or whatever. But this is their big game. They can make a statement. So yeah. Let's ride there. Let's ride with the Badgers.
Good deal. Get that locked in. 14.5.
14.5.
Give us something to do on a Saturday night.
Right. We're gonna get back here. We're gonna go 4-1 this week. 3-2 at worst.
I'm not gonna be watching the World Series on Saturday night, unfortunately.
I won't watch a single pitch of the World Series. I could after the Phillies blew that shit as bad as they were. Yeah, I'm not watching a single pitch. So
Yeah, no interest at all. I
nope,
mean,
nope.
it's a
Don't have
shame.
to. Don't. Yeah, it's a damn shame. But yeah. So our sweat that we had at the beginning of the video is over, other than an act of God where the game does not come to completion, and maybe we get a respite. But what are you gonna do? So you have anything else? Any potential? If you do, obviously Twitter, X, that's where you're gonna find the late
Yeah,
plays.
it doesn't look like anything else is materializing. Been looking, of course, at the NFL for Sunday. There might be some wet weather in Pittsburgh, maybe Washington, maybe for the Giants Jets game, but it doesn't look like anything substantial at this point,
Okay.
and not very windy, not as windy as the past storms that have gone through the last few weekends. So I think things are going to be okay. But if anything changes, we will of course post it.
Of course,
But
I'll
that
be
is
at
all
Penn
I
State,
got.
Indiana. I'll be at Penn State, Indiana.
Oh, good.
I mean, I'll
Go
be there.
Penn State.
I'll be pissed,
What's the line on that one?
like 40. I don't know. I didn't even look. Probably 40. Indiana's really bad. Got to be in the 30s. I didn't even. Too many factors. They could either come out pissed and really try to hammer them, or they could be so hungover from that bad of a loss that they squeak by and win by like 20 or something. So yeah, I would stay away from that. I don't have a feel there 100%. They just got to get through this game. And then Maryland is better this year. That could be a test. And then Michigan. So yeah, it's been a rough week for sports outside of my Eagles. Phillies cheered me up for a moment as they played after Penn State lost and won. But yeah, it was short-lived. So Penn State's undefeated season gone. Phillies season over. Only good thing was for me, Jalen Hurts beat his old teammate Tua, and they looked real good doing it. So yeah,
was not the best week, but yeah, we'll move on, and hopefully we win some bets this week.